Hey guys, so you ready for it? Today is February 13th, 2023, 6:15 a.m. Central Time. Pentagon brief, Sky Intruders. What to know? So this video should be very intriguing and enlightening to many of you. It was to me putting this together. This is not off articles. This is not off the reporting of any news outlet, period. It was from the Pentagon brief that happened yesterday, February 12th. That was on a conference call with reporters. Reporters asked questions, they answered them, and they did their little, introduction type spiel in the beginning. And it was about 39 minutes long, kind of difficult to find. Nobody really aired it, it looked like, from what I saw. So I pulled all the important information that the Pentagon is claiming and saying about all of these sky intruders, okay? Not just one in particular, the one that was taken down yesterday. About all of them. And I put it in this document. I'm going to go over it with you. But before I do that, just so you know, the defense.gov is the U.S. Department of Defense. In their transcript section, they're going to have that briefing, their conference call briefing, printed out on here. However, the last thing they had was February 10th, 2023, and there's been briefings since, so obviously someone's up on their job. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's gonna be today or tomorrow, but if you really want to see word for word, it will be on the transcripts area. Yesterday, I think it was like 12 hours ago, they released this. So statement on today's actions by North American Aerospace Defense Command. And I'll just read this and I'll go back to my document. Today at 2:42, and they actually said not in this, but they said on the briefing conference call, they had been tracking this in Canada since around midnight. So there was some time, took quite a while for it to hit our airspace. Eastern time, at the direction of President Biden, and based on the recommendations of Secretary Austin and military leadership, an F-16 fired an AIM-9X, it's a missile, heat-seeking missile, to successfully shoot down an airborne object flying at approximately 20,000 feet in altitude over U.S. airspace over Lake Huron in state of Michigan. Its path and altitude raised concerns, including that it could be a hazard to civilian aviation. The location for this shoot down afforded us the opportunity to avoid impact on people on the ground while improving chances for debris recovery. There are no indications of any civilian hurt or otherwise affected. North American Aerospace Defense Command detected the object Sunday morning and has been maintained a visual and radar tracking of it. Based on its flight path and data, we can reasonably connect this object to radar signal picked up over Montana, which flew in the proximity to sensitive DoD sites. We did not assess it to be a kinetic military threat, which basically means bombs or weaponry on it, to anything on the ground, but assess it was a safety flight hazard and threat due to its potential surveillance capabilities. Our team will now work to recover the object in an effort to learn more. And that's all they put. So back to the brief, right? Here we go. Again, this is about all of the objects and the one balloon. So NORAD, their focus apparently is specifically Canada and U.S. airspace, which to me is concerning because that means they're not doing anything south of us. 5 radar detections were detected in the last week and a half. The one that was in Alaska that went all the way to South Carolina, the PRC balloon was shot down. Alaska, unknown object was shot down. Canada, unknown object was shot down by U.S. forces by the command of Trudeau, with also Canadian military force close by. Lake Huron, yesterday, unknown object shot down. Montana, there was a radar anomaly. Nothing was found. So they do not know what objects these are. They are not balloons. They specifically stated several times, these are not balloons. They're objects. They don't even know the shape of these things. And he said if we did know the shape, it's not something they're willing to divulge because that could give away things. They literally know nothing about these objects that they're shooting down. Nothing. They don't know whether, they do know that it's going with the current, but they don't know if there's propulsion. They don't know about any type of advanced radar or antennas or anything like they did about the balloon. They know nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're shooting at objects. Unknown if it happened in the past. This contradicted the Biden administration. They asked, has this happened in the past? They said it's, quote, possible. Every time you see quotes here, it's what they actually said. It was possible, it's happened in the past, and it may have been, quote, overlooked. So what they're doing is using current activity to look back at data from prior dates. I would not want that job. So they're looking at flight patterns, radar frequencies, size that they can, basically figure out, those types of things, timelines, and anything that they get from the debris, and going back in history of things that got pinged on their radar that they did not hunt down or do anything with. They did say, actually, that their radars have picked up birds. So that's why I would not want that job. I'm going to be hunting down back activities from prior dates that could possibly be birds. So anyway, moving on. Why they are detecting these things now. Since the PRC balloon, they adjusted their, quote, radar gateways, which basically control these major two items. They've changed their radars to pick up things in lower and higher altitudes and a much lower velocity than what an aircraft would be, obviously. So they're starting to get these pings, and that's why they're detecting them now. What's interesting is the next thing. IC warned. IC is intelligence community. Sorry for that acronym. August 2022. An intel brief, they did not specify the intelligence agency that did this. They just said the intelligence community. An intelligence brief, or an intel brief to Congress and the administration about this topic happened in August 2022 due to, quote, after the fact recent detections. Now, they didn't specify or go into any specifics of where these detections were. They were just saying, hey, we're finding stuff. Who knows what was said in that intel brief? They did not go any further. What's dumb is NORAD did not alter any gateways at that time. Why? Quote, didn't feel necessary at the time. Oh, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Why they are using AIM-9X missiles versus other things. I'll tell you why. Objects are, quote, too small and minimal radar reception. They need tracking and safety of pilots. Let me explain. So AIM-9X missiles are heat-seeking, but they are able to track by frequency of location too. So and the reason I'm saying that, they specifically said there is nothing being given off by these objects that would actually justify using the AIM-9X missiles. But they're able to use them because of that. Safety of pilots issue is because it's too small. They barely get visuals on these things, and they considered shooting it down versus using a missile. But you have to be so close to the object to do that and lock onto it, obviously. Their concern with the safety of pilots is obviously the F-16s are going way faster than these objects. So that'd be very difficult. But also the possibility if they did shoot it, they would end up going through the debris, getting injured, getting taken down, their F-16s being taken down by the debris. So there's no other logical way to do it. That's why they're using the AIM-9X missiles. Why they did not shoot down the PRC balloon in Montana. They determined it not to be a kinetic threat, which means no bombs, no weaponry of any kind. They were worried about possible casualties. Capability to retrieve debris was a concern, which makes 100% sense regarding that. The casualties, I think, was ridiculous to even consider in Montana. It is open skies for a reason labeled. They probably would have taken out a few cows, but they could have really timed that right to avoid that. But the debris issue obviously would be a big deal. This thing was huge. The payload on it was like 3 buses long, she said. It would have exploded, obviously, once it hit the ground. But I will say, and that's basically all they said, I will say they absolutely should have taken this thing down sooner, actually in Canada, or I don't know, the earlier flight path this thing took. But they could have obviously taken down this balloon between Montana and South Carolina because there are rivers and such. And if you do things so accurately, you'll be able to do things just wonderfully. So that's why they did not shoot down the PRC balloon in Montana. Why they are shooting objects down now. This is interesting. The current 3 objects posed a threat to civilian aviation, just like that press release said. They in no way said anything about, in that press release, it said, what did they say in here? We did not assess a kinetic threat, anything on the ground, but assess it was a safety, flight hazard, and threat due to its potential surveillance capabilities. That potential surveillance capabilities did not come up during this press briefing. It was simply a threat to civilian aviation. So just a note there. They will assess each detection in the future on a case-by-case basis. If it does not pose a kinetic threat, not a threat to aviation, not a threat to sensitive military installations or fields, it sounds as though they will leave it alone. They were very ambiguous at the end of that, which I find very interesting if that's the case. So it sounds like they're going to seriously allow stuff that's not a kinetic threat, not a problem to aviation or civilian life, and doesn't go over sensitive military shit to try and gather up photos and audio and everything else. They're just going to leave it alone. How they can determine that, if these things are so small, is absolutely absurd. The last thing, you can, if you have a little drone, you can do footage and photos, and it's just, that's absolutely ridiculous to try and assess that. At least as far as I'm concerned, as an intelligence background, it would be absolutely absurd to try and assess that. I would immediately say they all are a threat to that. So anyway, moving on. This is the fun one, and this is the end of this video, basically. I'm going to give you my opinion on whether we should be worried, though. This is who is analyzing the debris. The one that was down in Canada, obviously the Canadian military and police force are working with gathering that debris and looking at it. And here in the United States of America, the FBI Counterintelligence Division that is within the DOD are the ones that are retrieving, gathering, looking at, all that wonderful stuff. Which doesn't, make me warm and fuzzy inside with how the FBI is so corrupt and fucked up. I think we'd probably get more out of it if, like, the CIA or something was doing it, but obviously the FBI is a homeland situation, not foreign as much as CIA. So it makes sense why the FBI would be doing it. But it would be nice for it to not be them. But the FBI is also working with the Canadian military force to analyze stuff too. So that was literally the best summarization and quotes that they said during that briefing last night. Now, this part's my opinion. Should we be worried about this? I would say 100% we should be worried about this. Again, all opinion. Whether these things have happened in the past or not, which guaranteed they have. Come on. It's not just all of a sudden popping up in the last week and a half. But the fact that we're we were able to, that people in Montana were the ones that detected the, what is it? I'm losing it. PRC balloon is outrageous that it was not found on our radars because of the altitude it was at. People looked in the sky, saw something crazy, and called their representatives and called their senators and called the police and everything else. And that's how we figured out it was there. That's seriously absurd. Absolutely absurd. I can't believe it. So, beside the point, I have a feeling that this could be a prelude to something ugly due to what's happening at our southern border. One sec. Obviously, our border is open. Wide open. Whoa, not even a border. It's just like a welcome sign with like a fucking moving walkway into the United States. The cartel have infiltrated this country 100%. They even said it. They know it. The cartel took out an entire family in California. The cartels should have been labeled a terrorist organization a long time ago. Even when I was serving, they should have been a long time ago, because they will work with anyone and everyone that will pay them, and they will get something from them in return. They do a lot of dirty work for other countries and other groups and everything else. So they should have been, absolutely should have been. I don't understand why they aren't now. People are now starting to talk about it, representatives and stuff. Oh, we need to do... Yeah, you should have done that fucking like 2 decades ago. But now it's almost like too little too late. Because if you had labeled them a terrorist organization and put them on a list, then you could take military action against these assholes a long time ago and have other things that would affect them as well and affect other countries or other groups working with them as well. There would be more detriment. There'd be more intelligence, by the way, on what these people are doing, where they are, how they're operating, everything. As soon as someone, and this is where I was in intelligence and dealt with a lot of this, as soon as a group or an organization is labeled a terrorist group of any kind and put on a list, we are able to surveil them militarily and gather a ton of information about them. But if the government doesn't do that, we can't do it. And the military has nothing to do with it right now. And it's too little too late. They're walking in this country. So are you going to send out, what branch are you going to send out to take out a bunch of, cartel that may pop up somewhere? Beside the point, there are way too many single men of, I would say, military age, able bodies walking into this country, regardless of Title 42. It's just a massive amount of people that have walked in this country since this asshole got into the White House is crazy. I never would have thought it would have been this bad. And not being able to track any of these people, people, whether they be Republicans and Democrats, busing these people to other states. It's just, I can't believe it. So beside the point, what do you do if you're trying to invade a country, right? You test their capabilities of any kind of surveillance, of detection. You try to go and surveil them and figure out their military installations, their communications, anything you can possibly get from anything, any type of intelligence. So you gather shit on them, you test them, and then you fucking invade them. So I'm very concerned about this. Do I think that China's going to come in here and just start taking us out and shit? No. I'm more worried about the people that have been crossing the border that may be, I don't know, part of these countries that could start some shit. And it won't be a conspiracy theorist type situation like the 9/11 was for many years and still is. It's it would be solid. There would be people on the ground taking people out or whatever, however it works. I'm very worried about this. And I don't really know what to think about it. After listening to that Pentagon brief, it really made me think these people know nothing. Our government is useless. They absolutely know nothing. The fact that they figured they were pinging stuff back in August of 2022 and didn't change their gateways to see if they could catch more shit. Are you kidding me? You didn't see it as being a concern at that time? You had to wait till this however many stories, 3-size bus bullshit popped into Montana, seen by civilians, for you to change your gateways? Are you kidding me? Our military has become such trash over the last couple decades, as far as I'm concerned. Even when I was serving, it was going down. They're so worried about this woke bullshit too. They're taking up so much time from training. It's actually absurd, some of the stuff I've heard that's going on. It's nuts. And I'm very concerned. We are down in the numbers in our military. So beside the point something could happen on the mainland, if China decides to invade Taiwan, which they will, absolutely they will. It's just a matter of timing. I think they'll do it in the next 2 years, but I could be wrong. I think they'll try and do it when Biden's in office, and Taiwan has an election next year as well. So China won't be fucking with that, right? We will end up getting dragged into a war. We will be funding Ukraine and then using military assets and possibly our military to protect Taiwan. There is an agreement saying that we will protect Taiwan militarily if they ever got attacked, but it is an agreement. It was never solidified by Congress or anything else. But since that agreement exists, and Biden's such a wussy pussy, he probably wouldn't do it anyway. But to me, it's like China is surveilling our capabilities of what we have as an anticipation of what they're going to deal with if they invade Taiwan. That is the other side of this. Besides anything that could happen here, put that aside. That's what I think they did with that balloon. 100%. Like I said, those in my last video, the two intelligence capabilities, gathering capabilities that I thought it had on it actually ended up having on it. And it also had some audio detection on there too. Fabulous. Let's have it go over the entire United States. China is definitely getting busy and doing things, and they're going to definitely keep NORAD on their toes. Our recruitment is down so bad in this country because of interest. I would not at all whatsoever consider serving at this point, in this point in time. If I, had turned 18 or 17 is when I went. No, absolutely not. The way the military and the brass is treating things and what they're doing with this wokeness and, what happened in Afghanistan would have fucking totally stopped me from doing anything. So besides the interest, also people are not even eligible due to drugs, weight. They're just not even able to make it into the military. So the military has been lowering their standards for recruitment, including like drug tests. Like I think if you do weed, you're totally fine to get in. Obviously you can't continue to do it, but if you want to get in and go and do all the wonderful MEPS and ASFAB and all this other bullshit that you need to do for stuff and go get a physical and your ass comes up saying that you do weed, oh, you're fine. We're just not going to allow you to do it from here on out. It's absurd. And there's lowering the standards for physically and everything else. But it's like, I don't know. What are you going to do? This country's turned to shit in so many ways. So anyway, that's the end of this video. This is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.